The most powerful CEO in the world did not just walk away, he vanished into thin air. Most white-collar criminals hire lawyers and wait for the gavel to drop. But Carlos Ghosn was not an ordinary executive. He was an emperor. To understand his flight, you must look at his reach. In the late 1990s, Nissan was bleeding cash, standing on the edge of total collapse. The Japanese giant was hemorrhaging money, its factories quiet, its future bleak. Then came Ghosn. He did not ask for permission. He slashed thousands of jobs, shuttered production lines, and ripped through the core of Japanese corporate tradition. It was brutal. It was efficient. It worked. He did not just save a failing company. He forged a massive global empire linking Nissan, Renault, and Mitsubishi. He became a business god, a titan who stood above the rules of the boardrooms he commanded. He built a kingdom so vast, so influential, that he seemed completely immune to consequence. But the higher the climb, the sharper the fall. The empire he built was already cracking from the inside, and the man who ruled it was about to become the world's most famous fugitive. Power breeds a specific kind of rot. Inside the Tokyo boardroom, the reverence for Ghosn began to curdle into cold, sharp fear. The Japanese executives watched their influence wane. They saw his consolidation of power not as salvation, but as an existential threat. The rumor mill whispered that Ghosn was preparing to pull the trigger on a total takeover, to dissolve the remaining boundaries, and fold Nissan permanently into Renault. They knew they could not win a public fight. They could not challenge him at a shareholder meeting. So they changed the battlefield. They turned their attention to the ledgers. Quietly, away from the glass walls and the cameras, they launched a top-secret internal investigation. They dug into personal accounts, private travel, and offshore expenses. Every email was scrutinized. Every transaction was flagged. The executives were no longer running a car company. They were running a surveillance operation. They traded their business titles for the tools of intelligence agents, hunting for the one mistake that could dismantle the empire. They waited in the dark corners of the office, stacking evidence like firewood, waiting for the day the CEO would walk into the building and find the doors locked behind him. In November 2018, the private jet touched down at Haneda Airport. Ghosn stepped off, expecting the usual routine of board reports and strategic meetings. He was wrong. The cabin doors slid open to reveal a wall of men in uniform. They did not bow. They moved with mechanical precision as if surrounding him before he could speak. The handcuffs snapped shut. The investigators accused him of financial crimes on a massive scale, claiming he had siphoned company funds to cover personal losses. Within hours, the man who had commanded thousands of employees was dragged into a windowless concrete box. The room was unheated, the air stagnant and thick with the smell of damp stone. Under the Japanese hostage justice system, the rules of the outside world ceased to exist. There were no lawyers present to object. There were no clocks to mark the passage of time. He faced hours of grueling interrogation, day after day, in a cycle of relentless questioning. He was granted 2 showers a week. His world shrank to the dimensions of a cot and a steel door. Every request was denied. Every protest was met with silence. The empire was gone, replaced by the crushing weight of total isolation. After more than 100 days in total isolation, the state finally granted bail, but it was not freedom. It was house arrest inside a monitored fortress. Surveillance cameras tracked his movement in every room. His internet access was severed. He was legally barred from speaking to his wife. Every move he made was recorded and analyzed by the very people who had put him there. Ghosn knew the reality of the Japanese court system. It boasted a 99.4% conviction rate. A fair trial was a mathematical impossibility. He was not a defendant in a courtroom. He was a target in a cage. He realized that waiting for the law to clear his name was a death sentence for his life and legacy. He needed a path that bypassed the system entirely. Through a series of encrypted, high-risk channels, he reached out to Michael Taylor, a former Green Beret and veteran of clandestine extractions. Taylor did not care about the legal proceedings or the politics of the boardroom. He specialized in one thing: getting people out of places they were not meant to leave. The legal battle was over. The covert operation had begun. On December 29, 2019, the front door of the house opened. Ghosn stepped into the cold air of Tokyo, his face obscured, moving with a deliberate, measured pace. Every shadow felt like a sensor. Every passerby felt like a potential informant. He navigated the streets, keeping his head down and his movements fluid, blending into the dense flow of the city. He reached the station, the pulse of the metropolis beating around him. He maneuvered through the turnstiles and onto the platform. The bullet train arrived with a sharp whistle of displaced air. He stepped inside, finding a seat in the middle of a carriage packed with travelers. He sat motionless. To his left, a businessman looked at his phone. To his right, a student leaned against the window, eyes closed. Ghosn remained perfectly still, his heart hammering against his ribs, knowing that if anyone recognized him, the escape would end in seconds. The train surged forward, accelerating through the suburbs of Osaka. He watched the blurred landscape rush past, each kilometer pulling him further from the grasp of the guards. Yet every vibration of the carriage felt like a warning that he was still within reach of the law. The hotel room smelled of stale coffee and industrial plastic. Two massive gear cases sat in the center of the floor, their reinforced frames looking like iron cages. Ghosn moved to the largest one. The team had drilled small, circular breathing holes into the base, the only connection to the outside world. He curled his body into the tight space, knees pressed to his chest, and felt the lid slam shut. The world turned black. He heard the muffled sound of latches clicking into place, followed by the floor shifting under him. He was being wheeled out, the vibrations of the hotel carpet and elevator floor rattling his teeth. Outside, the air turned sharp and cold. They reached the private terminal at Kansai Airport. The sounds of heavy machinery and distant jet engines grew louder. He heard the metallic clatter of the cases being pushed onto the floor. Security guards approached. The metallic ring of their voices echoed against the gearboxes. They were too large for the X-ray scanners. The guards debated, footsteps pacing around the containers. Then the heavy doors of the cargo hold groaned open. A guard signaled the team forward. The cases rolled into the dark hold of the jet. The escape was no longer a theory. It was in motion. The engines roared, a deafening mechanical scream that signaled the end of his confinement. Inside the cargo hold, the lid finally gave way. Ghosn pushed it back, breathing in the stale air of the jet, the vibration of the flight rattling his bones. The plane banked, turning its nose away from the reach of the Japanese authorities. Hours later, the gear hit the tarmac in Istanbul, and soon after, he was on the move again. Today, the man who once commanded a global empire lives behind the walls of a mansion in Beirut, thousands of miles from the courtroom that sought to dismantle him. The Japanese executive succeeded in stopping the merger, but the spectacle of the escape transformed their company into a global laughingstock. The legal system remains, yet the man it sought to crush is beyond its grip. Was this the act of a criminal dodging the consequences of his greed, or the final move of a man escaping a system engineered to ensure his destruction? The case is closed, but the question remains for you to decide. Where does the boundary lie between justice and a game rigged to win?